So in this video we're just going to be looking at specific topics from chapter 8. So let me know if you have any questions about any of the topics that we're going to go through in this video. So let's go through these slides. So describe what encryption is and why it is used. So encryption works by scrambling data into garbled code using an encryption key. Even if data is stolen, it cannot be understood by the thief. Only authorized people who have the decryption key will be able to unscramble the data and read it. It is used to help keep data safe from hackers, as the data is unreadable to an unauthorized party. So just a little picture of what encryption does, so you don't have to know the term symmetric encryption, just encryption. So let's say, for example, you are sending a message. So let's say you have some document over here, or if you're on WhatsApp, etc. If you're sending a message, let's say you're saying hello to someone else, then what's going to happen is in encryption, there's a secret key involved that is going to take this information, which is readable and meaningful, and then change it into something that looks meaningless. So you can see it looks like scrambled code. It doesn't look like anything meaningful. And then what's going to happen is this information is going to be sent over the network in this scrambled form, so that just in case a hacker intercepts this message, when they look at it, it's going to look like it is not useful. But when the message reaches the person to whom it's intended to go to, the secret key can then decrypt this information and then make it into the readable text that it was in the beginning. So if you sent the message hello over a network, let's imagine it changes into something like this, but when it gets to the recipient, it then decrypts this code into hello again. So that's kind of like how encryption works. Explain what is meant by the term Secure Socket Layer, SSL. Describe the features of a web page that are identified as using a secure server. So SSL is used on websites where we use bank or credit card details in order to make purchases. SSL encrypts the connection between your computer and the e-commerce website and ensures that all transactions are secure. This stops your bank or credit card details being stolen by hackers. So SSL just means that encryption is being used, so when information is transferred from your computer to the server or the website, and vice versa, that information is encrypted. So if hackers intercept that information, it might look meaningless to them, so they can't get hold of your info. So how do we know that websites are using SSL or are a secure website? So in this image over here, if you look at your URL that you're using, so if you type in www.google.com or Facebook, etc., usually if it's a secure website that deals with information like your passwords or usernames or your banking websites, it should have HTTPS in the beginning. So the S stands for secure. Also, if you look to the left of HTTPS, somewhere in that URL bar, you might get a padlock symbol that also shows that your website is SSL or using SSL protocols. So just to read the bullet, you can tell if a website is protected by SSL by looking at its URL or web address. The web address should start with HTTPS and there should be an icon of a padlock. Okay, so SSL is just a method of encrypting data to make sure it's secure. Describe phishing. So phishing is used to describe methods that thieves use to phish for our data. This is where forces try and bait us into giving up our bank details, credit card details, usernames and passwords. Phishing is usually carried out over emails, pretending to be from legitimate organizations like banks and building societies. If you provide these details, the criminals will be able to use them to help themselves to your cash. In a summarized form, phishing is using fraudulent emails to gain information from you. So just to show an example of a phishing email, so this is just random. So you can pause the video here, but pretty much, dear valued customer of a trusted bank, or might come from a bank or some legitimate looking organization, but remember it's fake, and so they're pretending to be this genuine organization, and they might ask you to verify information, or if there's something urgent that like someone's hacked into your account, they might ask you to give them your passwords or usernames and things like that. And if a person gives their usernames, passwords, bank details, etc., then basically the hacker who has sent this phishing email will then be able to access that user's account or have access to their money, etc. So this is just an example. So how do you protect yourself from phishing? Alright, so there are some ways. So your textbook might list more or different ones. So never give your bank details or passwords over email. Banks never ask their customers for this information. Phishing scams sometimes promise you enormous wealth. So for example, you might receive an email which says, "We have recently discovered you have been mentioned in the will of some person. If you provide us with your bank account number, we will deposit the sum of some money." So once you send your bank details, instead of depositing money, the crooks will make off with your cash. If something sounds too good to be true, then it probably is, and you would be best off ignoring the mail. Report any phishing attempts to your email account provider, and don't respond to emails from people you don't know. So these are just some ways to protect yourself from phishing. So describe farming. So the intention of farming is the same as phishing, to obtain personal information such as usernames, passwords, and bank details, etc. The way this is done, however, is slightly different. Farmers infect legitimate websites with malicious code. They will redirect you to their bogus version of the website. If you then enter personal information to the bogus website, the fraudsters will be able to collect that data and use it. So for example, if someone were to type in www.absa.co.za, so it's a legitimate website for that bank, then if there's malicious code on the user's computer, then the malicious code will redirect the user to a fake ABSA website, so it will look legit, and when the user tries to log into that fake website, they will unfortunately have given their details to the hackers who have set up this fake website, and then the hackers might be able to access that user's information or bank account. So that's what farming is mainly about. So how do you protect yourself from farming? So just check the URL or the web address of the website before you enter personal information. The bogus website will have a slightly different address to the legitimate website, so there might be some slight spelling mistake in that URL. So that's one hint that it could be a fake website. Make sure that you're on a secure website, one that is encrypted with SSL, before entering personal information. So remember the way to tell that you're using an SSL encrypted website. It should have HTTPS in the URL. An unsecure website will begin with HTTP, so the S will be left off. And remember the padlock symbol should also be in the address bar. So these are two ways to protect yourself from farming. Describe smishing. So smishing is the same as phishing, except the fraudulent messages are sent via text messages or SMSs rather than emails. Okay, so trying to get personal information from you. So this is just a small example. So this has got to do with an Apple ID. So they'll give you some urgent message. Your Apple ID account has been locked due to unauthorized login attempts. Please log in here and verify your information. So it'll give you some URL. So unfortunately, if a user clicks on this URL and enters their Apple ID information, then the hackers that sent this SMS will then have access or have that login details from that user, and then they can possibly log into their account from there. So that's just one example of smishing. Yeah, and always just remember to gain personal details, else it won't be considered smishing. How do you protect yourself from smishing? So 3 ways over here. Never give your bank details or passwords over the phone or text message. ignore text messages from people you don't know, and report any phishing attempts to your mobile phone company. So these are 3 ways to protect yourself against smishing.